What is up, guys? Delboy here. So I wanted to make a preview and prediction for Deontay Wilder versus Bermane Stiverne 2. Obviously, originally, Deontay Wilder was supposed to fight Luis Ortiz. Luis Ortiz failed a drug test, so Deontay Wilder is now fighting his mandatory challenger, Bermane Stiverne. How Bermane Stiverne became the mandatory challenger, your guess is as good as mine. I believe his last win was in 2015 against Derek Rossi, and he's not fought since then. I believe when Bermane Stiverne steps in the ring with Deontay Wilder on November the 4th, it is basically 2 years since he last fought. I think it's like 10 days off or something. 10 days off 2 years since he last fought. That is ridiculous how Bermane Stiverne is the mandatory challenger. It's ridiculous. Disgraceful by the WBC. I mean, this guy is a guy who has technically failed a drug test. I don't care if it was for a energy drink. He failed a drug test and he got fined for it. And he's still the mandatory challenger for Deontay Wilder. And people, I don't agree with these conspiracy theorists about Deontay Wilder and the WBC protecting him. But when the WBC does things like that, you can't. They've done that themselves. They've brought scrutiny on themselves by not following the same laws when a drug test is failed. Because we see Bermane Stiverne get rewarded with a title shot for failing a drug test. He's getting rewarded. We saw the Orlando Salido versus Ray Vargas fight. Ray Vargas failed a drug test, and he still fought. He still fought for that title that he held. So the WBC don't really follow their own rules. They pop a guy like Luis Ortiz, and he should be banned, and he should be suspended. But surely you've got to do the same with Bermane Stiverne and Ray Vargas. But no. When you make decisions like that, that's when it looks like you're protecting this guy. And they've brought that on themselves. I don't believe in it, but they've gave themselves that image. And the reality is, the WBC heavyweight title has not been a credible title for about 6 years now. Do you recall Vitaly Klitschko holding that title up for so long when nobody was fighting for it? He was basically mulling retirement. He didn't let anybody else fight for it. The belt was in limbo for a long time. Then the belt finally got vacated. The WBC basically done their best to put this belt in North America. They made Areola, who didn't deserve a title shot, and Bermane Stiverne fight for the title, for the vacant title. And then Wilder became the mandatory by beating nobody. And Wilder's fought basically a list of cans since he won a title. So the WBC title has not held credibility in a long, long time. And to me, the last 6 years of that WBC heavyweight title has been incredibly manufactured. Deontay Wilder is a manufactured champion, just like Bermane Stiverne was. You know, these guys were just propped up by the WBC, when in reality there's probably guys at the time who deserved it more, like Povetkin. And by the way, this was a time when Povetkin didn't fail a test. Povetkin deserved a shot at the WBC title much more than Areola did. And again, yes, I'm aware Povetkin tested positive, but back in 2014, when the vacant title was contested by Bermane Stiverne and Chris Areola, Povetkin never failed a test, and he was highly ranked, and he had much better resumes than both Povetkin and Areola. He deserved a shot more than those guys. So to me, the WBC belt, the WBC timeline in the last 6 years has been incredibly manufactured, and it's held no credibility. They've not delivered any good fights. We've had a lot of average, poor fights. So in recent years, the WBC heavyweight title, to me, is the less sort of credible title right now, because of what it's been through in the last 6 years. But I digress. The rant on the WBC is over. Let's talk about the fight quickly. When this fight originally happened, before it happened, I actually picked Wilder to win. My whole reasoning was Bermane Stiverne has incredibly slow feet. And we saw when he fought a shot Ray Austin, if you stick a jab and move a bit, you're going to give Bermane Stiverne trouble. And even Areola in the rematch, there were times when Areola was outboxing Bermane Stiverne. So, although at the time Wilder was very unrefined, he was very athletically gifted. He had quick feet. He could pop a jab. He could move, and he had long reach. So in my mind, I expected Wilder to keep it at range and get a stoppage in the mid to late rounds. I predicted Wilder by mid to late round stoppage. So I got it wrong technically. I didn't think it would go the distance, but I was pretty confident Wilder was going to win that fight. I've always felt Bermane Stiverne is a incredibly overrated heavyweight who is very one-paced, very one-dimensional. And I felt that way going into the first fight. And I feel no different now. I mean, to me, Bermane Stiverne's probably regressed. I mean, what is Bermane Stiverne now? He's what, 39 years old or something like that. So he's at the end of his career. He doesn't live the life. I mean, we saw that in the Wilder fight. This guy didn't even know he had to drink water to stay hydrated, for Christ's sake. The guy's not a credible athlete, and his career has been very stop-start, big periods of inactivity. He's just not that good. He's one-dimensional, he's overweight, he's lazy, he doesn't show dedication to the game, and he is going to pay the price in this fight. Just like the first fight, I expect Wilder to maintain the distance, but with his quick feet and his quick jab. He's going to pop that jab, he's going to circle Bermane Stiverne, and he's going to look for that right hand. And as soon as that right hand lands, Bermane Stiverne's going to be in trouble. Yes, he took him the distance the first time, but I'd hedge a bet and say Bermane Stiverne has regressed as a fighter. Not being active, got dropped against a feather-fisted Derek Rossi. I don't expect Bermane Stiverne to see the final bell here. Not good enough. Not dynamic enough. Just too one-dimensional. And this stylistically plays right into Wilder's hands, as we saw last time out. Last time I felt Bermane Stiverne tried to look for that counter way too much. And he sat on the ropes way too often. And I know Bermane Stiverne, to his credit actually, one thing I will give Bermane Stiverne credit for, he is a very good counterpuncher off the ropes. But to me, that's not going to work against Wilder. You know, he's going to open himself up to being bad moments when he's against the ropes. So I think Bermane Stiverne needs to completely change his game plan and be aggressive. He needs to try to come forward behind a high guard, not give Deontay Wilder any sort of openings, and try to walk him down, try to take his shots on the gloves, come inside and work body. But again, the thing with that is Bermane Stiverne's got no foot speed. He's slow as molasses, so I don't think he can close that distance, but he needs to try and be more aggressive. He needs to try and get on the inside somehow, because Bermane Stiverne, like I said, he is very one-dimensional, but he can fight on the inside a bit. So I think that's a route he should go down. I think he needs to get on the inside, try to push Wilder back, try to sort of keep Wilder on the back foot so he can't get full power in his shots. Because to me, I mean, Deontay Wilder has to set his feet to land those big shots. When he throws off the back foot, he's not quite as powerful. If you watch all of his knockouts, he's either sort of his feet are planted or he's coming forward. I don't think his power is the same on the back foot. So Bermane Stiverne needs to consistently cut the ring off and apply pressure. But like I said, I just don't think he's got the foot speed or the hand speed or the stamina to really trouble Wilder. I'd expect Wilder to get the job done early this time round, rounds 4 or 5. I think Bermane Stiverne's going to be walking into jabs. He's going to be eating right hands. And as soon as a few right hands land, it's going to be all she wrote. If Deontay Wilder has any sort of trouble in this fight, then well, I'd be shocked, because I didn't expect him to have trouble the first time. He didn't really have any trouble. So if he has trouble this time, then what does that say about Deontay Wilder's progression as a fighter? I'd expect Wilder to get the job done here in relatively quick fashion, in swift fashion, and in brutal fashion. Needs to be a knockout, needs to be a highlight reel knockout. It needs to be visceral, you know. Deontay Wilder's career has been so stop-start, no credible opposition. So when you're fighting a guy like this, and he has done it to his credit, he needs to blast him out of there. And that's why I expect him to do. He needs to blast him out of there, and then look for the big fights. I personally, after Joshua and Wilder fight their next fights, that's the fight I'd like to see. But at the same time, that fight is bigger in the summer in a stadium. That's just a reality. So I would personally like to see it next as a fan. But are we going to get that next? Probably not. I mean, I watched Klitschko Joshua with a group of casuals who don't watch boxing, and they knew who Klitschko was because of the David Haye fight and the Tyson Fury fight. They were well aware of the name Vladimir Klitschko. If I went to them and said, Anthony Joshua is fighting Deontay Wilder, they'd ask me who that is because they don't know. Nobody knows who Deontay Wilder is over here in terms of a casual market. So I can see Eddie Hearn's point that Wilder needs to fight in the UK just to build his profile, to expose himself to the UK market. I can see his point. But as a fan, I would like to see that fight next, just to get it out of the way. And I say that because I personally don't feel this fight's competitive. I think Wilder will get blasted out, but I just want to see it happen to move on and to move the heavyweight division forward. And that's why I want this fight to happen next. Will it happen next? I don't think so. To Eddie Hearn's defence, he did say Wilder would happen in 2018, so we're going to hold him to that. So I can't see this fight, the Wilder fight, being put off for too long. I don't think it will happen next, but I do think it will happen the fight after. So that's what I think is going to happen in regards to the Wilder-Joshua fight. Do I think it's the great fight people are making it out to be? I honestly don't think so. I just think it's a one-sided fight. To me, one guy is far more skilled than the other, and the other guy just basically gets by on athletic ability and power, because Wilder doesn't really have that much skills. Let's just be completely honest about it. And that's been highlighted by getting outboxed by guys like Arthur Spielka and getting jabbed in the face by Johan Duhaupas, getting rocked by a school teacher in Eric Molina. I'll be honest, I just don't think Wilder's very good. And I've said that for a long time. In terms of boxing skills, that is. My whole thing on Wilder has always been this. I feel Wilder is a type of heavyweight who could get knocked out by a sea-level guy easily. But at the same time, his power and athleticism and size means that he has a chance against anybody in the division also. That's how I've always seen Wilder. I think he's a very flawed fighter who has very little technical skills, but he makes up for that in athletic ability, power, reach, speed, things like that. But I just feel when Wilder really steps up and gets one of those big fights, he's getting beat. But that's just my opinion, and ultimately, in the next year, I'm sure we're going to see how this all pans out. I could be completely wrong about Deontay Wilder, but I just don't see the skill set there. I just don't see it. What do you guys think? Peace.